Hello everyone आणि नमस्कार. This is Dr. Sudarshan Sambhajirao Pedge, Assistant Professor, Department of Zoology, Kailaswasi Rasika Mahavidyalaya Devani, your zoology companion, and welcome to my lecture. In the last lecture, we also studied that is the classification of lipids. After that, today we will focus on another next topic of our syllabus, that is the types of lipids. So let's get started today's lecture. So there are three types of lipids. The first is the simple lipid, second one is the compound lipid, and third one is the derived lipid. So start with the simple lipid. It is a first lipid. In the simple lipids are also called the true fats and sometimes called the neutral fats. Simple lipid means what? Simple lipids are also called the true fats and sometimes called the neutral fats also. Okay, it is a esters of fatty acids and alcohol. Okay, it is a esters of fatty acids and alcohol, and it is a divided into two subtypes. Okay, it is divided into two subtypes. First one is the natural fats and oil or triglycerides, and second one is the waxes. Okay, so we will see the one by one. First is the natural fats and oils or triglycerides. In that, you have seen in the figure there are three fatty acids is there, and these three fatty acids is attached with the glycerol and formation of triglycerides. Okay, that is the one particular reaction. Okay, that reaction is in that there are three fatty acids. Which fatty acid? First one is the palmitic fatty acid, second is the stearic, and third one is the oleic fatty acid, and they react with the glycerol and formation of triglycerides. Okay, it means these natural fats and oil are triglyceride. These are a mixture of lipids obtained from biological sources. If you compare fats and oil purely physical, that time fats are solids and oils are liquids at room temperature. Okay, as well as it is a commercially important fats and oils. We know very well it is a commercially important, and it is a of daily needs for every human beings also. Okay, we have use in day-to-day life. Okay, that include our natural fats or oils include olive oil, soybean oil, coconut oil, cottonseed oil, butter fat, corn oil, peanut oil. These are the oils, and that oil we have use day to day life, right? And these natural fats hydrolyzed under heat and pressure into fatty acid and glycerol. Okay, if we hydrolyze these natural fats, it means the hydrolyze the triglyceride. That time we found fatty acids and glycerol, right? And it is a natural fats are the water insoluble, but a fine emulsion like alkalis and bile salts also. Okay, we know very well the average content of fat in the human body is 10 to 12%, and large amount of energy stored in the subcutaneous 10 to 12%, and large amount of energy stored in the subcutaneous fat deposits. Okay, that fat is stored in two main sites, that is the liver and adipose tissue, right? Adipose tissue cells are modified into the fibroblast cells, okay, and they store fat as a triglyceride to the extent of 80 to 90% of their volume. Okay, fibroblast cell, it is one particular storage part of triglyceride, and they have store 80 to 90% of triglyceride in the fibroblast cells as well as adipose tissue, or as well as adipose cells. Okay, and these uh, fatty acids are the straight chain of carbon atoms with one carboxylic group at the end. You have seen in that picture, or in that structure, you have seen there are carbon atoms within a straight chain, right, with one carboxylic group in the at the end. Okay, you have seen in the next slide the carboxylic group is attached. Okay, first of all, natural fats are of two types. Okay, that is the saturated fatty acids and unsaturated fatty acids. Okay, and the natural fats are divided into two subtypes, that is the saturated fatty acid as well as unsaturated fatty acid. Okay, sorry. So first is the saturated fatty acids. All carbons are fully saturated with hydrogen. That fatty acids are called saturated fatty acids. What are the fatty acids are saturated fatty acids? All carbon are fully saturated with hydrogen. That fatty acid is called saturated fatty acid. You have seen here in the straight chain of carbon atom with one carboxyl group is here. Okay, in the last slide I also mentioned the fatty acid means that is the straight chain of carbon atoms with one carboxyl group at the end. Okay, you have see here the first as well as second picture also, as well as structure also, that is the carboxylic group is attached at the end. Okay, and these saturated acids, all the carbon atoms are fully saturated with hydrogen, and it is found naturally occurring fats like myristic, palmitic and stearic acids. Okay, these are the saturated fatty acids. Okay, second one is the unsaturated fatty acid. In the unsaturated fatty acid, all carbon not saturated with hydrogen. Okay. All the carbon atoms are not fully saturated with hydrogen. That fatty acid is called unsaturated fatty acid. If you compare saturated and unsaturated, in the saturated, all carbon atoms are fully saturated with hydrogen atom, and in unsaturated fatty acid, all carbons are not saturated. All carbon atoms are not saturated with hydrogen. Okay, that is the main and important difference between saturated fatty acids and unsaturated fatty acids. Okay, in the unsaturated fatty acid, such as oleic, linolenic, and arachidonic acids. Okay, this is the saturated and unsaturated fatty acids. Okay, so next is the waxes. Waxes are the esters of fatty acid, not with glycerol but with monohydric alcohol. Okay, if you compare waxes and natural fats or triglycerides that time in the triglyceride esters of fatty acids with glycerol, but in the waxes esters of fatty acid not with glycerol but with monohydric alcohol. Okay, that is the main and important difference between waxes and natural fats as well as triglycerides. Okay, so you see here, that is the formula of waxes. Okay, in the structure, another, that is the waxes generally found in the comb or bee. Okay, that is the honey bee. Okay, generally the bee wax, for example, is an esters of palmitic acid. Okay, it is an esters of palmitic acid with myricyl alcohol. Okay, that is the formula of C30H61OH. Okay, that is the myricyl alcohol, and that myricyl alcohol, it will be esters of palmitic acids. Okay, that is the bee wax. Okay, the bee waxes are fairly hard and have sufficiently high melting point. Okay, you know very well, it's a fairly hard but sufficiently high melting point, and waxes serve one particular protective and impermeable coverings in the integument of many animals. Okay, but do not occur in human body also. Okay, okay, it present in the only animal body, and they protect as well as impermeable covering in the integument. Okay, so today we have seen in this lecture the simple lipids of the types of lipids. First types, the simple lipid. In the simple lipid, today we have seen there is the natural fats and oil or triglyceride. Triglycerides is the in particular uh, three fatty acids react with glycerol and formation of triglycerides. We also see, as well as in the next we also see in the structure of fatty acids, there is the straight carbon chain atom with the carboxylic group found in the end of the structure. Okay, that is the esters of fatty acids. Okay, and in that first natural fats we have seen two types, that is the saturated fatty acids and unsaturated fatty acids. The saturated fatty acids are the all carbon atoms, fat or all carbon atoms are fully saturated with the hydrogen atoms, that is called as the saturated fatty acids. And unsaturated fatty acid means all carbon atoms not saturated or not fully saturated with hydrogen. That is called as unsaturated acid. And last type, that is the waxes, also studied. So this is it for today. Remaining part we will see later on. Thank you very much.